Hey everyone, welcome back to Crypto Cash. Thank you so much for joining me here. Happy Monday to you, if there is such a thing. We're taking a look here at Bitcoin, seeing what's going on with this guy. I redrew out some Fibonacci retracement levels because we can see the big picture. We know what's going on there. We've talked about that for a few weeks now. But I went ahead and drew this out for the most recent low to the most recent high, basically 2-week previous low open for the weekly, and of course the high for last week as well. So we're going to go ahead and look at that and much more. Obviously help understand best practice and big picture. The whole point of this is to help educate you, become a better trader if possible. So if you want that for yourself, cryptocash.tech is a site, link down below where you can become part of our team. Now what I want to do is talk a little bit about well, let's go to the back end stuff first and kind of jump right into this, because this is important to recognize, because this stuff really helps us understand the details of what's going on in the back end, right? Because as we can see here, we can see there's a lot more selling pressure than buying pressure as far as asks versus bids. In other words, these are just orders being sold versus bought. We can also see that the whales are starting to come back into play here. These are basically just larger position sizes coming in, and that's over the last 3 or 4 days. So what happens a lot of times when you hit this highs, you'll have these points in which retail kind of takes over and the whales just kind of sit on the sidelines. And then once the price stays there for so long, the whales start to manipulate or basically just push the direction whichever way you'll see. That's why we've seen a lot of liquidation hunts recently where the price will wake up to previous week highs or lows or close or opens and effectively be able to stop out a lot of positions and just turn right around. Okay. Again, you want to try to be mindful of those things. It's hard to identify just really quick and easy, but we try to point that out in this channel here. So keep that in mind. We'll look at that here in a moment. So just to touch on some longs. So we're seeing over the weekend, we saw a lot more longs being closed than open. Okay. So not a lot of buying pressure there. We can also see a very similar scenario here today, as a matter of fact. For shorts, a lot of shorts are being closed. So it's an interesting thing. We got both shorts and longs closing. It tells us there's something happening on the back end, right? Some kind of shift in momentum will occur soon. So I think a big move is going to happen here soon. Let's take a look at some of the larger picture stuff here. Let's actually go with the last 7 days of open interest. We can see there's probably a lot of short positions here. In fact, let's double check. These are some shorts here, all hedged at about 31,200. So shorts are in the green. They're staying open. They're waiting for the price to come lower because they want to obviously get more bang for the buck, right? So that tells us that that is a strong resistance level, but also that there's more bias in the price going down than up at this point. We can see longs are kind of just all over the place here this week. So again, being an early or a late long, depending on how you look at it, could be potentially disastrous depending on how you how you look at the cards, right? Because there's a lot of different scenarios here that could take place, but for the most part, we are range bound between this lowest point of 29,400, more likely 29,900, upwards of about 31,000 even. Okay, so 29.9 to 31.1 is pretty strong little area there that we're going to be stuck within until it breaks either above or below. It does feel more so like we're going to see a breakdown, but once again, that's just my thoughts. I've been wrong before. Okay, so before we get started here, I do want to kind of preface here and let you know as well, we do have an awesome BingX, is it what it is? Sorry, it's been a long morning already. BingX is basically allowing you to have a $50 bonus with a $50 deposit and a $100 bonus with a $3,000 volume. Okay, so pretty easy to achieve that. But if you use the link down below, you'll be eligible for that. It's just a one-time offer up until July 31st, so I have to mention that and let you know. Awesome stuff. You don't want a VPN or KYC and worry about that, because I know a lot of folks are coming over from KuCoin, Bybit, BingX, the whole 9 yards, right? I know I'm saying the wrong names there, but you know what I'm saying. KYC is a pain in the tail. Okay, so let's talk about the bigger picture, and let's go ahead and go with the weekly here first. Okay, so touching on the weekly, we can go ahead and see, of course, the week before last, we had that low point of 29,400, and just this most recent week, 31,500. That's kind of, again, the larger ranges of my Fibonacci retracement levels are drawn through that range. We can see other stuff here too as well, with the MACD starting to lose momentum to the upside. We've also got the RSI kind of hanging out right where it's supposed to, right at that 60 level. Not a lot going on there, but in truth, the money flow index is coming down, and as the money flow goes down, so does the price with it. Okay, so keep in mind, we are starting to decrease in the amount of money flowing into the market, at least for the last month, or last week rather. And now as far as the daily is concerned, what we want to look at here as well is the MACD. So the MACD is still swinging down. We still have the momentum continuing. So this really just implies and tells us we shouldn't try too long into that. Again, there's different strategies, of course, but the bottom line is that we haven't hit our full extension just yet. Until we start to see that kind of switch or capitulate, whatever you want to call it, it's going to continue to go down because of that. Okay. That being said, we can see here that stochastic RSI on the daily gave us a convergence, and now we're diverging here. So this really doesn't give us any confidence in the price action going up from here. It tells us we're more likely to go down. Okay. Same thing with the money outflow index being low. You should expect that to be, continue to maintain there until we see more money coming in. But the bottom line here is that we're above 50 and below 70 on the RSI. Still fairly bullish in the overall sense of things. So again, I'm not telling you that the price is going to drop like a rock, but I do think that we're going to see another liquidity hunt here in the very near future. And it would make sense that we wick down to 29.4, 29.5. So to me, a short seems much more viable at this point. But again, let's see if the smaller time frames tell us anything, right? Because the 4-hour time frame, we want to kind of identify a few things here. We want to note that we have been range bound here. Of course, this is a weekend, but for the most part, we're making lower highs and lower lows. It's kind of ugly, but it is happening. We can also see that we are on the RSI right at about 50 and getting rejected. Okay, so that's the point of area that we can see the price action usually get rejected in most cases and come back down. So if the price cannot pass this 30,500 range by the end of today's trading day, I would say we're probably more likely to continue to go down. Again, it's kind of messy. Range-bound activity is funky. A lot of times when you're range-bound like this, you want to look for liquidity. And what we can see here, if we take a look at our previous week close, we've got the previous week close at 30,150. And then, of course, we got the weekly open at about 30,600. So to me, a closure below 30,600 is just a pretty obvious definitive line in the sand where the price will probably have difficulty passing that point and come back down to try to recapture some of these 1 week lows here. In other words, 29,600. So if I were too long, I'd much further a long position in the 29,000 range than I would right now at this point. It makes more sense for the price to pull back to that level. Again, just some big picture thoughts there. As far as the hourly, we can kind of see here that Ichimoku Cloud is going to give us some false positives because we've been range bound for a little while. While we are tentatively above it or kind of breaking even, there's no specific confirmation here. So to me, even if we were to come up here to about 30,500, still doesn't seem all that viable to me. I'm leaning more towards a short. So we can see we're at an 8 right now. We're overextending ourselves a little bit. So it would make sense for the price to pull back here in the relative near future. So once again, I think that lower lows are going to continue here, and we might see the price action continue to the lower side. Other than that, really not much else to really note. If we take a look at the HD here, we can kind of see that we are above that moving average. There's a lot of support at that 30,000 range. When the price wicked down below 30,000 for a moment last night, it came right back up. Okay, so it's not really 30,000 is a very strong support level too. So you got to recognize that breaking 30,000 to the downside is going to be difficult too for the bears. So I don't really think we're going to see a massive rundown in 25,000. Like I hear there's speculation of that. I think we're more likely to see the 28, 29 and then a continuation up from there. I'm hoping it happens soon so we can go ahead and add to our positions at a lower price point and go ahead and continue to average down. But for the moment, this is kind of where we're at there. So range bound until proven otherwise. That's basically the bottom line. Just be mindful there's a lot of liquidation hunts. I wouldn't be surprised we see a wick up to 31,500 as well. Just note that there's a lot of resistance there too, especially with those shorts being hedged very high at 31.5. So again, I think it's more of a short game here, but we will see here soon. There's going to be a break one way or the other. I hope you learned something here today, of course. You could also, as a quick favor, if you haven't already, follow us on Twitter. Great to have you there. We have a very similar scenario here as well over on Telegram. If you prefer that, all those links are down below. And once again, make sure you register for this exclusive BingX offer. Awesome, easy money, but more importantly, just a fantastic exchange. It doesn't require KYC or VPN in the US, Canada, other states as well, and countries. Thanks again so much for joining me here. Hope you have a great rest of your day. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.